Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing a workout out at the New Tech Gym in Las Vegas. So we're here for the Olympia weekend and it is stacked. And not only is it stacked with humans, it's stacked with equipment as well. So again, we're gonna be spoiled for choice in today's workout. So I have no idea what I'm going to be able to get through for a couple of reasons. I secretly just had 2 donuts as we were so busy this morning. We did a podcast episode with Brett Contreras, which went for like 4 hours. So we didn't get a chance to eat breakfast and then we jumped right in. And then the only thing that was kind of convenient on the way home was, of course, donuts. So I'm like driving over here. I'm like, oh God, I don't feel so good. So we got plenty of carbs though, plenty of carbs, plenty of sugar for a good workout. But there's also so many like influencers here at the moment. So I'm going to go and try and meet some of these people, maybe share a machine with them, who knows. But yeah, we're going to try and do our best today. But I am feeling a little bit tired today. We got into Vegas really late last night and then it was an early start. So wish me luck. It's going to be one of those days. You guys can relate to this. So I'm going to give what I've got for the tank today. But let's get in started. Alrighty, first exercise, I'm gonna start with a compound because at this point I don't want to risk an injury. So I'm starting with the heaviest, most technical lift first. So I found this machine. I've played around on a couple prior to filming and I really like this movement path. So we're going to be hitting glutes and quads with this machine. It's plate loaded and it's also extremely old school with this kind of, I don't know, is this a chain? But it's really comfortable. So I'm starting off with my biggest muscle groups first, the most important, the tush. So let's get into it. Disappointed. There are so many people here, so many influencers, so many athletes. It is nuts. And not only are there so many athletes and influencers, there is so much equipment in this gym. So I'm going to do my best to kind of pick, number one, what exercises I'm going to do with so much selection. Anyway, let's go and find our first piece of equipment. And I hope that you learn a lot and have fun with me on my training session today. All right, well, since my quads and my glutes are toast, let's move to the other muscle that didn't really get worked in that exercise, the hamstrings. So I really love all of the New Tech equipment. This just seems to work with my mechanics. So I've always said to you guys, I have such long hamstrings that a lot of the seated hamstring curls, I'm still in like a bent knee position when I start the repetition, so I never get full range of motion. This absolutely allows you to get full range of motion. I just like training that way. It feels good, it's smooth. So let's hit the hamstrings. I'm gonna do 1.5 reps today. So 1.5 is gonna be in the lengthened position. It's gonna be a little bit more painful and challenging. So let's do it. All right, kids. So I will say, when it comes to training with either slow eccentric movements or doing anything where there's an extended period of time in the lengthened position, it does cause muscle damage as measured by all of the variables, not just DOMs. So just be mindful if you do program anything with extended lengthened position like I've just done here. I probably wouldn't be doing more than 1 exercise per session with that kind of training, just because it does increase the amount of soreness that you'll get. And then I probably wouldn't schedule it in my very next workout either. I would skip a day and then I would do some more like lengthened work. Sorry if you haven't tried it before, just keep that in mind. But it's another kind of equivalently beneficial way to build muscle. Hunter.
Yeah.
Your calves are freaking enormous.
Yeah, they're weird looking, right?
I think they're bigger than my quads.
They might be.
How's your year off going?
Really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, really good.
What have you been focusing on? Everything?
Family, enjoying life.
Okay.
You know, everything but bodybuilding for a little while. We're back to
need
focusing on bodybuilding now. That's like a month ago, so it's good.
What's your next show for the season? When will you come back in?
Depends on how quick I get this shoulder rolling. I had shoulder surgery 4 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so
has the recovery been okay?
yeah, it's getting better every day. So
Cool.
we're 4 months into it. They said it'll take up to 6 months to get completely better, but you know, I'm back to training on it and everything. So sometime middle of next year.
Okay.
I'll be back on stage next year though, for sure.
Well, good luck. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Nice
Have a
to
good
meet
one.
you. Alrighty guys, okay, moving on to the next exercise. So I'm gonna be hitting my glute medius with this movement. Some of you may not have ever seen this before, and I might have only, to be fair, I might have put this on my story once. So it's not a piece of equipment you see every day. It actually has a really large footprint, so I can understand why smaller gyms probably wouldn't have this, but you're basically kicking out to the side. So that's a really nice glute medius movement, but you're also getting some glute max here. Okay, you can feel both working. I would probably assign a pretty even split. If I was gonna assign some volume, I wouldn't be doing fractional glute max. I would probably track this as 3 sets on my glute max and 3 sets on my glute medius. I'll have to see what causes failure because I haven't done it in a while, I can't remember. But yeah, you also get a little bit of a pump on this inside leg. But again, you're not going to assign quad volume to this. It's just stabilizing and there's lots of tension there, but it's not going to go to failure. But it's certainly getting a good use of, just by balancing here. So all right, let's do, I don't know, 15 reps. We'll see what this feels like. All right, guys, she's got to take a little breather. Oh, okay, so next exercise, we're going to finish up on probably our last glute medius exercise. Again, from what I've been telling you, don't spend too much time on any one muscle group. 6 sets is probably sufficient, but this will be the last medius exercise. I just jumped on and actually tested this out. Now, this is a unilateral hip abduction. So you've seen me do this at the Champs Elysium gym. I jumped on with 2 legs. I'm doing a bilateral version of this. And because each lever is controlled independent of one another, it's not like a normal seated hip abduction where you've got even tension, like the entire range of motion. So it feels very unstable. So I was like, oh, is this right? It's fine to do that, but I think it's important to recognize like the more instability you add to an exercise, the lighter you're going to have to lift. So I know what I normally lift on like a regular standing hip abduction. I'm probably going to bring this down by like 20 or 30% just because it feels so unbalanced. So as I do a few reps here, you'll kind of see like my knees aren't necessarily pushing out evenly. That's okay as long as you get to failure, but it's just something to be aware of. We're leaving the lower body behind. That was what, 5 exercises? Maybe you guys are counting. Shoulders, obviously the next most important muscle group for me. I haven't used this piece of equipment. I just did a warm-up set and it is chef's kiss. It has so many lever adjustments. I love it. So you can, depending on your height, obviously we're all put together a little differently. I have a long ass spine. So often I need to kind of be able to adjust the height of the what do we call these? The handles. So it does that wonderfully. And then you can also adjust which direction or orientation your handles are pressing. So if you prefer more of a neutral grip, you can kind of manipulate these. Or if you want to do what I'm doing, which is just a straight pronated grip, you can do that too. So at the moment, I'm doing probably, I'm gonna say close to 30 sets a week on my shoulders. And I'm trying to do that relatively balanced in that I'm getting about 10 here, 10 here, 10 on the rear. But depending on the week, depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes there's a little bit of variability, but the goal would be to do that as consistently as possible so that you get even growth across all heads of the shoulder. I just tried one of the lateral raise machines in here, which looks really cool. So it had like a back of your arm support so that you could really drive in and feel supported. However, again, not every machine is going to work for you. There was no way that I could position the handles, the seat, for it to feel comfortable. It was almost like you just needed to be a giant for it to work. So unfortunately, I find that for a lot of lateral shoulder exercises, it seems very repetitive. I don't know whether you guys experience that when you're training, but when it comes to your medial deltoid, short of regular overhead presses and lateral raises, I'm like, I feel like it's so like cumbersome. I do them all the time, but there really isn't very many other exercises that I like, short of doing like a single arm, and we all know how much they suck. I think I try to limit my single like arm or leg exercises to like a maximum of 2 in any one session, just because they're so time consuming. So when I'm writing my programs, you'll notice usually I've got all of my unilateral movements kind of spread out relatively evenly across the course of the week, just because it helps keep that training time to like a minimum. So I'm going to do a seated lateral raise today with the dumbbells. I wish that there was a machine here that I loved, but I find that the seated makes it a little bit more challenging. You don't get the momentum, you don't swing, you can't sway. So it's a very strict isolation shoulder exercise. So you're going to target mostly your medial and a little bit of your anterior delt when you're doing a lateral raise. So I'm going to go to 20 reps. I like high rep ranges, low training for these so that I don't bring any other muscle groups in for this exercise. All right, for sake of time today, I want to get to the finals. We're going to finish out today's workout with some calves. I love this calf machine. You're not going to get this in an LA Fitness or any kind of commercial gym. It's usually a very rare specimen. So it's called a donkey calf raise. I don't even think I have it filmed in my own exercise library in the BeFit app because I've never had the luxury of it, but I love it. So it allows you to get a really deep stretch. So you would have seen, I can kind of bring my calves all the way down, long stretch, and it feels really good. Essentially, I think I can get to failure much faster when I'm able to take my, calf muscle, or any muscle for that matter, through a full range of motion, as opposed to some of the other machines where you just don't get that big stretch. It's kind of almost like a partial rep. So you either have to go really heavy to get to failure, or what's the alternative? I can't really think at this moment. I'm totally hypoxic. But either way, this is awesome. Alrighty guys, that concludes our workout today. This is honestly one of the fastest in and out at a non-home gym sessions I think we've had in a while. About 650 calories. So when I'm tracking on my watch, when I'm plotting all of that data into my check-in sheets, which by the way, you can access my actual coaching check-in sheets, the ones that I use with all my clients and for myself when I compete, for free. You can download it on my website. But all's to say, when I'm putting in all of my data, I do usually look at the totals instead of like active calories, because typically I'm moving through, I'm not chit-chatting with anybody, so it's a good representative of what the whole session actually costs. There isn't really a right or a wrong way to do it, that's just how I do it, and then I sum that up for the week, and I try to maintain a very consistent weekly energy expenditure, especially when I'm in my competition season. Right now it's probably less important because I'm not competing. I'm just trying to grow muscle. So I'm really focusing on getting good sleep, low stress, quality sessions where I'm really trying to take all of my sets close to failure. I don't often go all the way to a 10. Part of the reason for that is just for longevity. When I was younger, I used to have a lot more of an ego and I loved crushing 1 rep maxes, and I also just loved going to an RPE, rate of perceived exertion, of 10. I don't do that as often anymore, just because I found the more I did that, and especially as I've gotten older, my knees hurt a little more, my hips hurt, my wrists hurt, everything just gets a little bit more beat up. So to be able to stick with this long term, most of my training sessions now fall within like an RPE of 8 or 9. I very rarely go to 10, but certainly focusing on quality lifts in this off season, still trying to grow this muscle group here. Nothing else really has to grow. So it's more or less do enough volume to maintain, don't grow anything crazy, which is probably not likely to happen anyway as I'm an advanced lifter. It would require an extraordinary amount of effort to like build my muscles again. Perhaps not my bis and tris, actually, I take that back. if I were to introduce bicep and tricep exercises into my workouts now, and because I haven't done them for such a long time, those would probably respond much like a beginner, believe it or not. Just because I come into the gym and train all the time, my biceps don't get any direct work. So those would probably be the one muscle group that would grow like crazy now if I brought them back in. But for everything else, I'm just trying to maintain and enjoy my training. So it's kind of the plan for the next 6 months. But I appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to head back to the resort world now. All of the athletes are back there. They've got pre-judging for a lot of the events and also finals for some of the categories tonight. I know that the Miss Wellness is on this evening, which I'm very excited to see who wins. But if you want to get my programs, head on over to my website. All of them are basically available for download. We're going to be bringing out the new version of Be a Fit in just a couple of weeks. I'm so excited. This will be the 3rd time we've had to rebuild this just due to, I guess, criminal developers. So I'm so excited to have that being launched here in a couple of weeks. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video.